Do you feel as if you're not improving as quick as you would like to in Siege, or simply you don't know where to start for that improvement? Well, if that is you, then you are in the right place, as today I'm going to be giving you 10 tips in 10 minutes for Rainbow Six Siege. And the best part is, these tips aren't going to take up much of your time, and as well, you don't actually have to smurf a newcomer to improve in Siege. Simply leave the newcomer players alone, stop typing goodnight in chat, and let's get on into this video. If you do end up finding the video useful or any of these tips do in fact help you out, be sure to drop a like on the video. Without further ado, let's get on into these 10 tips for Siege. Tip number 1 is going to be your KD does not matter. Has anyone ever talked you down about your KD in Siege? I'm sure if you have played the game for a decent amount of time, you will have definitely come across this experience. If that is the case, be sure to let me know down below, as I'm very interested in taking a look at how many of you have actually dealt with this. But the fact is, your KD does not define you as a player. You should stop focusing on it. Well, it's great to say your KD doesn't matter at all, but realistically, there will be a lot of you who subconsciously focus on the KD, and it puts you down when playing, and it's actually stopping you from improving. You need to choose to let go of your KD, and this is only something that you can do. You've got to choose it yourself. No Tachanka ritual will spiritually cleanse you of your KD. You've just simply got to let it go. There are many other factors that will actually affect your KD. A lot of you are going to be support players, and your job is more utility-wise, droning-wise, and opening the actual objective itself, not focusing on kills. As well, you might have taken a break from Siege, you come back, you're a little rusty, so it does take you a little while to get into the game. Please think about the external factors that go into a KD when it comes down to it. So therefore, let it go and start focusing on improving instead of your KD. The next tip is going to be that your rank doesn't matter. That's right, 2 of the main statistics in Siege actually don't matter. Who would have guessed it? However, your rank is literally just a pixels on somebody's screen. That is all it is. It is simply an image. Your rank does not define your skill too. It simply shows what players you are going to be matching up with when you decide to enter into that playlist game mode. And again, there are so many external factors that will go into your rank, whether you solo queue, whether you play in a team, whether or not you took a break from the game. There are a lot of external factors that will go into it. Now, don't get me wrong, your rank isn't completely useless. However, it isn't a main deciding factor on your skill. It simply gives a vague general overview of a player's path that they have taken in rank. But whatever you do, do not fall into the trap of underestimating a player in Siege. If you do this and you see their rank and you think this is going to be an easy game, you will most likely fall into the trap of underestimating them and regret it later on. Next up, we have that solo queue equals improvement. Solo queue is one of the toughest experiences in Rainbow Six Siege. It's not there to provide those results for you. It's not there to provide you with a great rank and as well nice looking stats. What it is there to do is to help you improve. Solo queue has got to be one of the best ways that you can improve as a player. It is going to strengthen your mentality so much. As well as this, it is going to make you rely on only you and yourself. Instead of coming up with excuses all the time, you'll be focusing on yourself even more. Which is why I would recommend you, when you are solo queuing, is to focus on actually improving your own gameplay and do not focus on that end result. Next up, we have find a 5-stack. I would highly recommend you to find a 5-stack. Now, if you can't, that is completely okay, but I would recommend using all your energy to find a 5-stack. If it's not possible, then you can move on with that and focus on in the mentality of solo queuing. However, try your hardest to find that 5-stack or team. They offer 2 completely game-changing experiences to you. A 5-stack is going to allow you to flourish in a team. It's going to allow you to learn skills such as communicating, giving call-outs, helping your team out, and switching that mentality around when you really need it. While solo queue will provide you with many great aspects as well, a 5-stack will provide you with simply a lot of other aspects that solo queue cannot provide. Next up is a huge tip that you need to be doing, and that is building up routine habits, such as warming up. You need to start building habits up into your gameplay. A very easy and basic example is warming up. It's very underrated, and I would highly recommend you to start warming up effectively. Build habits and start warming up at certain times of the day when it suits you best before you get on. If you can do it for a certain amount of time, whether you like to target recoil control first, or you like to target your movement or crosshair placement, whatever it is, try and build some consistency with it in actually doing the areas first in a certain order, as well as the timing. You can also in fact use this in many other areas, building up different habits in-game. Whether that habit is to drone a little bit more frequently before entering a room, those small habits can have great impacts on your gameplay. And for the 6th tip, we have you need to know your map knowledge. Map knowledge is essentially your guide around the whole different maps. Map knowledge is what is going to depict and form your gameplay. It is going to help so much if you know your way around the map, so you can actually execute the techniques that you have learned. Map knowledge is a very core principle of Siege, and you need to learn it early on and as confidently as you can, making sure that you fully know it when you do decide to learn it. If you are struggling to learn your map knowledge, what I would recommend you to do is spend a significant amount of time in custom games, making sure that you are going around looking at the key POIs on the map, as well making sure that you are targeting the weakest maps first for your custom games. What you want to be doing is noting down, making a mental note, or actually writing it on paper with the different map names, is to make sure that you're noting down where the hatches are, where the stairwells are, ideally the key areas on a map that will stand out to you. As well, this is going to depend on how you like to play. If you're more of a support operator or an entry fragger, take note of areas that will be useful for you to gain control of. This also will apply on defense on top of that. The 7th tip on the list is going to be your mentality. A strong mentality in Siege is one of the most slept on areas currently right now. You've got mechanics, you've got game sense, you've also got map knowledge, which would also go under game sense. However, mentality needs to be focused on more. The ability to essentially flick a switch, almost like you would with a light, turn it on from dark to the brightness. If you can do this with your mentality, flick it just like that, from a losing game to a winning game, just by giving your team a little bit more of hope, that is going to come in so handy. And as well, your teammates are going to thank you for it. You'll be a leader and leading from the front in your team. A mentality is what you need to develop. Solo queue is going to help you to develop a mentality of there are no excuses, you can't control external factors like your teammates, and overall it will help you a lot to build up a core mentality. You can have the greatest aim in the world, but the fact is, if you can't figure out areas that you need to work on yourself, if you can't stop blaming other people, and if you can't stop being a negative environment for your team, then you are going nowhere. Tip number 8 is going to be set up to win. Whether you are on defense or attack, you need to be setting up to win when it comes to the actual game time. You have the prep phase and you have the drone phase, which are both going to apply for attack and defense. Here, you really need to be setting yourself up to win. The prep phase, you've got to be efficient. That first prep phase is going to determine on how that round goes for you. If you're late to get a rotation down, you might be killed off when doing it, or you won't be able to get that rotation down, which is going to have significant impacts later on in that round. Again, with the drone phase, delegating one member to drone out the objective and actually have you set up your drone in a position where you can drone your entry fragger in when he gets to the main area of the map is going to be so much more useful than sitting on your phone whilst in the drone phase. Stop setting up to lose and actually set up to win instead. Next up is review your gameplay. Reviewing your own gameplay isn't often done by Siege players because it can take up quite a bit of time going through a game, taking a look at it, but the fact is you will save so much time in the future instead of figuring out on why you're not improving, when you can simply spend that little extra time in the short term and look at that video and look at what you did wrong. Whether you end up reviewing your gameplay and watching the kill cam, or simply take a recording of it yourself to take a look back at some of the highlights where you made those mistakes, it can be so crucial for helping you to develop as a player. It's going to give you a bird's eye view on what you're doing wrong in that round. In the heat of the moment, when everything's going down, even on that kill cam, you're not really going to be able to find out what went wrong or what you could have done better. Whereas if you take a fresh break, then you come back to it with that gameplay, you can review it yourself, you'll be able to really get an idea of what you can do better. As well, giving this gameplay to a teammate, for example, if you are in a team and you all want to improve together, then you can feel free to send each other's gameplays and take a look at them yourself, giving feedback to one another. That can be very useful. This may take time in the short term, but in the long term it will pay off, and you've got to weigh up whether you are willing to put in that time in order to improve. And tip number 10 is to take breaks. You don't understand how many players will overdo themselves, overwork themselves, because putting in those hours will help them improve. It only happens after a certain amount of time. It gets to a point whether you are trying to analyze your gameplay, play T-Hunt, or improve in ranked matches, it gets to that point where you've played so many hours that it really isn't going through. Therefore, take a break, come back to the game in a little bit, and refresh. Make sure you are taking care of yourself, because that will help to improve your consistency as well. And that right there are the 10 tips you need for Rainbow Six Siege in 10 minutes. If this video did help you out or any of the tips did, be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe for more tips and tricks just like this. If you do have any questions about the video, be sure to pop by in my Discord. There will be a link down below where I'm very happy to answer all of your questions that you do have. I hope you all have an incredible rest of your day, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.